Hi, Reverend Paula Zabkar here with Spiritual Soul Center. Last week I talked a little bit about my cancer experiencing diagnosis because I had an anniversary, June 6th, 1994, 26 years ago, diagnosed with breast cancer. There's a part of my cancer experience, though, that I rarely talk about. It's kind of a secret. Not kind of, I guess it is a secret. And I don't even guess it's a secret, it is a secret. And I realized that, looking back on it, especially now, that I was really ashamed. I did something wrong and I didn't want to let anybody know about it. I wanted to pretend that it really didn't happen, that I made a mistake and the world was going to know about it. It was just too much for me to bear. I wanted to pretend that it didn't happen. I wanted it to go away. I didn't want to deal with it, even though every day it was right in front of my face. The short story is this, that there was a 2-week lapse in my health insurance coverage. And in the meantime, I had been diagnosed with cancer, and so the cancer that I had been diagnosed with ended up being a pre-existing condition. How did I let that happen? What in the world? That's just crazy for me to think about. Really? That's what I did? I let my insurance lapse for 2 weeks, and now this whole experience, this hospitalization, this surgery, this chemotherapy, this radiation, was not going to be covered by insurance. I couldn't bear to let anybody know how big of a mistake I made, how wrong I had been, how utterly ridiculous I was to have let my insurance lapse for those 2 weeks. I trudged along through the surgery, I trudged along through the radiation and chemotherapy with this hanging over my head, this secret. And not just the secret, but all the stories I made to really cover it up. And not just even that, but underneath the secret that I didn't want to share was this self-blame and this judgment about myself, about how ridiculous I'd been and how wrong I was and what's wrong with me, and my inability to even ask for help. God, I couldn't beat myself up anymore about it as I went through this very difficult time in my life. Well, here's the one thing I want you to hear today, or at least one of the things I want you to hear today, and I want you to hear that these kinds of secrets are heavy. They are heavy. Even if you think you've got them out of your system, even if you think you have them under control, they are a weight that we carry around. They're a weight that I carried around with me. It was heavy. It didn't feel like freedom at all. It didn't even feel like I could engage in my recovery process very well. And every day I had the evidence in front of me with the bills piling up and having to call people and make payment plans. And even this, can you imagine having to carry my own chemotherapy drugs to my doctor's office in order to have the treatment that my parents were paying for, getting them from a pharmacist that they knew that was a friend of theirs back in Pennsylvania. Golly, did I really think no one knew? Well, finally I did have the guts to mention it to a friend of mine. And she said this simply. She said, I think you need to talk to an attorney. I think you need to talk to an attorney. And all of a sudden it was like this little door had opened. This secret was coming out. This little tiny weight was lifted. This possibility existed. I was like, oh, this silence was broken and something was possible. And she got a reference from her husband of an attorney that I should talk to. And I think it was probably the hardest thing I ever said was yes to this help, maybe even harder than saying I have cancer, to admitting that I made this mistake and I needed help. Well, a young attorney by the name of Bob Over had my case, and in the first letter that he wrote to my insurance carrier, he got a response back and an offer of settlement. He called me very excited about the fact that he had found this precedent, that he was able to get this response from my insurer. And he said, listen, Paula, we can get more than this. I just want to let you know, they have admitted through this letter their fault, and we're in the high position here. We can make something else happen. Well, I said to him, Bob, in the way I was feeling in the moment, all I really want here? What I really want is for them to pay what they should have paid for from the start. I'll be satisfied with that. I'll be satisfied with that. So Bob was heaven sent in that way. He was kind and courteous and good at his job, and he was so sweet in the way he agreed with me about how to move forward. So one summer afternoon on a Friday, on a rooftop of a building in downtown Washington, D.C., with my sister and her friends at a happy hour at the law firm that she worked at, Bob Over delivered my settlement check to me. 6 months after my last treatment for cancer, I was able to pay my bills, and I was able to repay the people who had helped me get to this point. I was relieved, and I was grateful, as if I had a fresh start. This weight had begun to lift from me. I had let my secret out to enough people, and people had helped me come to this conclusion. So looking back at this uncomfortable time, I learned a few things. And the first one, and I've mentioned already, is this. Secrets are heavy. They are heavy, and they rob us of our freedom. They rob us of the lightness that's available us in life. And they bring us down to where we can't find a way out. They make us wary and looking over the shoulder. That's what secrets do. Here's another thing I learned, that if you are willing to open the door just a bit, if you are willing to crack open just a bit, there are those who are willing to help. This story illustrates that in spades. You know, all I had to do was mention it to a friend, to get that wheel rolling, to get into the flow of what was possible for me, instead of accepting my fate because I was afraid to say it out loud. And the third thing I'll say is there are always helpers around. There are always helpers around. You may not be able to see them. I certainly didn't in my disgust about myself, in beating myself up, and blaming myself for this error. I didn't know there'd be helpers around, but there are always helpers around. There are helpers around in the physical world as well as the spiritual world. There are those beings and vibrations of energy and love in the world that are there for you and for me. Always. Always. And how do we access them? The fourth thing I'll say is asking for help is how you access help. Asking for help is how you access help. You have to take that step. You have to be willing to say, I need help. That there's this thing that happened that I'm ashamed of, that I'm beating myself up about, that I'm not happy about, that I need some help here, and to be okay with that. You know what this whole story really is about? One thing, and that is it's about self-love. It's about loving yourself no matter what, no matter the errors you make, no matter the judgments you make about yourself, to get over that and to love yourself. It's about stopping this inner struggle of blame. It's about stopping that, pausing that, and saying, you know, hey, this is how life is. This is what life is about. This is okay. This is okay to love my insecurities, my limitations, my errors. It's okay to love me through that. It's all right to embrace that. It's okay. It's a willingness, really, to live in the mystery of life. To live in the mystery of life. I think that's really what it's about. Accepting yourself, living in the mystery that is life itself. So let's take a deep breath in and out and become present in this very moment. Be still and know. To let arise what arises in your heart. To know that the process of letting go, of releasing, is what makes us lighter. It is what makes us able to feel freedom and ease, what makes us human. To feel the freedom from the stories, the hiding and the secrets. To feel the freedom from that is to live in the palm of the divine itself. To feel whole and holy. To feel at one with all creation. To know truly in our heart that all is well, that all can be well, that I can be at ease. We sit for just these few moments. So take a final breath in and out with me, in and out. And having spent this time in stillness and ease, in the perfect alignment with the heart and the divine of your own being, we can feel as if we can start again. As if we can start again from the foundation of love that is in the center of each one of us. So let's close, as we do, our time together with this prayer. May I be filled with loving kindness. May I be well. May I be peaceful and at ease. May I be happy. May all beings be filled with loving kindness. May all be well. May all be peaceful and at ease. May all be happy. And amen.